Hi, I'm Gordon Sprouse, Marketing Director with Simrad, and I'm here today with Stephen Thomas, who is the Product Brand Director with Simrad, and this is our Simrad Live webinar where we're bringing to you today 20 tips on how to use the Simrad NSSevo3s chart plotter display. And it sounds like a lot, and these are really great tips to not only get you started, but also if you've had an NSSevo3s display for a while, it's a great way to maybe use some features you might not have known were there, or features that you'd like to know how to do something, but you never really knew how to do that. So we're going to have these available and show them to you in the next few minutes. But Stephen, these features that we're going to see on the NSSevo3s display, which is a relatively new display for us, can also be used on other displays as well, right?
Absolutely. If they have an older display like the NSSevo3 or the Evo 2, most of what we're showing tonight is applicable to those units as well. And pretty much any Simrad display unit, whether it's the Go or the Cruise, 95% of the features are the same. If you start with one of those, the transition to these is very, very easy.
That's great. And what you're going to see is we're going to show a number of features, and you'll find that a lot of the ways you do features like create waypoints or create routes can be created from a number of different locations on the display. So it's trying to show you no matter where you are on the display, you can be able to make that happen. And the other item is, I think we have the capability for people to ask questions while we're on this webinar as well. So we'll be reviewing those questions and answering those questions as we move along, but also we'll be listening for key questions, and Steve's going to help us out by demonstrating some of those features right here on our NSSevo3s display. And I think one of the ones that came in really early is people wanted to know how to adjust their split screens, right? So before we start and show some of these really cool tips, can you show us how to do that, Steve?
Absolutely.
So adjusting the split screen.
Adjusting the split screens is really easy. You just, let's start with the split screen at first. And then from there you access what we call the systems control menu. You can either swipe down from the top or just hit your power button. And you go in here, there's adjust splits along with a few other choices, and you can just simply move it back and forth to size it exactly how much the chart or how much the radar that you like. So works with any of the features that are on there, works with up to 6 panels on the NSS16. And there's just a myriad of ways that you can do to adjust and get the screen to the way that you like it.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. And so we're getting ready to kick off. I've introduced myself. You met Stephen Thomas. We also have someone featured tonight on tonight's webinar, Sean Edmonds, who is our Simrad training expert. And Sean has been great enough to film some of these tips that we have available to you. And we're going to show them in groups. There'll be 4 groups of tips that we'll show you. And each group will be about 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll cover maybe some features and some new information you haven't heard about. But now the first set of tips from Sean Edmonds will be on general use of the NSSevo3s display, including how to customize your NSSevo3s display, how to access your system controls, which is a menu Stephen just briefly talked about earlier, and how to navigate around the chart page. So we're going to cut away to Sean Edmonds. He's going to show us those few tips, and we'll be right back.
So anytime you want to do any function within the Simrad NSSevo3s, you're going to use or go to the home page. The home page is going to have all of your icons, your preset pages, and any features or settings that you need to get in to manipulate. So again, 2 ways to get to it, like I just showed you, is through the button, or you've got the icon on the touch screen. So going through the home page, this is where we can set our display to have any technology we have plugged into it shown on the screen. So one way is simply press it and we always get a full page. We go back into our home page and we press and hold, and you notice it will split whatever page I held is always on the left side, and it splits it with every other icon on the screen to the right. So if I want to do my split page with my echo, I simply hit that page and I get my split page. The third way is you have 10 customizable pages. So you can go in and find an empty page, and it's easy as click and drag. So on the NSSevo3s, I have the ability to do up to a 6-way split. So I can put all that data onto the screen, simply hit save, and it's now going to build my page for me. Now when we're talking about multiple split pages, we have the ability to adjust our sizes of all these splits. So either by hitting the power button or by pulling down from Simrad, we have the hidden menu and you see adjust splits. So now you can simply click and drag and resize these splits however you want. When you're finished, you simply hit save. Another neat feature is when we go in and we build a custom page, depending on how many windows you have in there, you will have different layouts that you could use. So I'm going to use this layout because I got a sounder, I'm fishing today, and I want to show more of the sounder page and less of my radar and chart. Again, I simply hit save, and now I've put those 3 technologies on the screen. And again, like we talked about before, I can go and adjust that split. Maybe I want to see more chart, a little less radar. Again, simply hit save, and it resizes that screen. So within the Simrad NSSevo3s, we have a hidden menu, and it can be reached by hitting the power key or by pulling down from Simrad. On this menu, this is where you can get into your settings. We can put radars in standby or transmit. This is also where we control our night mode, where we change everything on the network if it's tied together into a night mode, as well as the brilliance. And you simply tap the screen and go back and forth. Touch lock, another useful feature. If I need to clean my screens for any reason and I don't put on touch lock, all of my menus are going to change. My cursor is going to go all over the place. As you're doing that, you're going to notice when I have touch lock on, though, nothing happens. And anytime I try to do something with the touch screen, it's going to tell you to enable it, press power. So now when I press power, I'm now back and active. Also is the ability to turn on and off our instrument bar. So if we don't want that sidebar of data, we can simply turn it off. When we're tied into our Simrad Genesis app and we're tied to Wi-Fi, we can also synchronize all the data. So that's our waypoints, our settings, everything from the machine can be loaded to the cloud to be saved or used at a different time or even a different place. Now we'll review some of the quick and easy ways to move around the chart page on the Simrad NSSevo3s. So when we want to move our cursor and maybe look at another area, we can simply click and drag, or we have the ability to use our cursor pad. So you notice I can control and move around through the page with that. To get back to our vessel, we can simply hit clear cursor, or we can use the X key. A nice feature about the X key is when we leave a spot, if we want to get back to it, that X key will always take us back to the last saved spot that the cursor was at. So if I need to get back to my boat to see where I'm at, make sure I'm in clean water, I simply hit the X to jump back to my boat, but again, X goes right back to where I was looking or navigating on the screen. When it comes to zooming, again, we can pinch to zoom. We have buttons for single scale where we can do a single scale or push and hold and we can run in and out. And then we also have the rotary knob, quick and easy. With the new software in the NSSevo3s, we also have the ability to change our chart orientation on the fly. So we got this icon in the corner where we can jump between north up, heads up, and course up simply by pressing the button.
And we're back. We're back for the Simrad live webinar. We've got another set of 4 or 5 tips coming from Simrad training expert Sean Edmonds here in just a minute. But we wanted to take a moment and share with you some exciting information about new mapping products that are now available for Simrad displays. Those are the new CMAP charts, this new CMAP Discover and Reveal charts that were just launched earlier this month. They're all available at cmap-map.com. You can find all the information about the new Discover and Reveal charts, and we've really simplified our SKU setup with the CMAP charts, right, Stephen?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, you can get the whole United States and Canada on a single card now. It used to be multiple cards that you had to get to do that. Simplified it down to one. Has, I don't know how many lakes? 24,000 lakes?
24,000 high-resolution lakes, about 14,000 in the U.S., 9,000 in Canada, plus high-resolution contours in the coastal areas as well. So that's really great. That's on the Discover card. All of that is included on the Discover card. But the great thing about a lot of that data is for the coastal high resolution, if you have an NSSevo3s display,
yep, it's already built in. You've already got it. You've already got some of the best navigation information available at your fingertips, including all the features that you would normally get with the Discover product.
Right, and with that Discover product, if you buy that Discover card, you also get easy routing. You get a free subscription for easy routing, which allows you to set up your navigation based on the depth of the area, so you can safely navigate depending on the draft of your boat and the size of your boat as well. So those are some great features you get with CMAP Discover
including
cards.
all the tides and currents that you need if you're going to be out on the water. So
okay, so that's
all built in.
If you get that with the CMAP Discover card. But then we've also added CMAP Reveal. And CMAP Reveal gives you all the features that are available with CMAP Discover, but you also get shaded relief.
Yes, ultra high definition shaded relief. It looks a lot different than the earlier shaded relief that we first launched, but it is amazing. I can show you how to do that here in a few minutes. Also includes satellite overlay and aerial pictures of some interesting spots that you might want to check out.
We've talked with some of our charter captains, for example, down in Florida, for example, and they've looked at some of the shaded relief, and they're like, these are charter captains, and they're looking at the shaded relief and saying, that's just almost not fair, because they're showing a lot of the areas that I fish that are right there and available on the shaded relief for the areas where they normally go. So, but that's another great thing about NSSevo3s is
the Florida section for the reveal data is actually built into the displays as well.
You get that with the NSSevo3s display. For Florida, you get shaded relief for Florida.
Absolutely.
That's a great value to be able to get that. But if you want shaded relief for all the other areas of the United States, we have a collection of cards that are available for CMAP Reveal.
There is so much data, they had to break it up into different segments. And it's, again, it's ultra high resolution definition. It's the best charting that you can actually get.
Right. And then, but if you want to know what shaded relief looks like on your display, well, we're going to show it on this display right here. But if you wanted to go to cmap.com and see it before you actually buy it, you can do that too. Right?
That's amazing.
Okay.
Sounds so easy.
Yeah, you can. There's actually a chart viewer on cmap.com where you can look at the shaded relief for your area, and so you can on your computer you can basically try before you buy and take a look at it. And if you like that, then you can buy the card and be able to put that on your NSSevo3s display. But let's take a look at what that looks like. You can show the difference of what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm going to go to full screen here just to give everybody a chance to actually be able to see what they're looking at.
Now this is in the Florida area because this is built in, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, and we're simulating a boat somewhere off the coast of Miami here. If you go into more options, you go into chart options here, and you scroll up, you see your shaded relief, and you can see all the high resolution information and detail here on the chart. It is amazing the level of detail and information that they actually have there.
So this is the kind of detail for Florida that will be built into the display. And if you wanted this kind of detail for other areas, then you would buy a CMAP Reveal card.
Correct.
Okay, great. And all those cards in the regions they cover are all covered at cmap.com. That's c-map.com. Great. Well, we're getting ready to run away to another set of features, of how-to features, tips by Sean Edmonds. But there's one more feature I wanted to show because we had some questions come in. We actually had someone who was asking, because we're getting ready to talk about waypoints. And Sean Edmonds is going to cover how to create waypoints from different areas on your display. But someone was asking, which I don't think we have this covered, was how can I search for waypoints, Stephen, by their distance from where I'm located now? Is there an easy way to be able to do that?
There is. And the way to do that is to access your waypoint information. Your waypoint information can be accessed right up here in the corner. Very easy. And here you actually see, here's all your waypoints. These are currently sorted by name. You can actually tell that by sorting by name. If you want to change how that information appears, you can just go to sort. You can cite by the nearest, and it rearranges the list, and you can see all the nearest ones right there. So it's literally that easy. And if you want to, then you can select it and go to. So it helps you even.
Super easy.
It's super easy.
And if you're integrated with your autopilot would automatically engage and you would start to travel to that location.
That's right.
That's great.
Good to go.
Okay, well there's another great tip. One we didn't get in our list of 20, but now you got 21 great tips on Simrad NSSevo3s display. And now we're going to cut away and we're going to cover how to create waypoints for many different areas on your NSSevo3s display. And here's Sean Edmonds.
So when we want to drop waypoints, there's quite a few different ways to do so. If we want to do it right at the boat, we simply hit the menu and new waypoint, and now that is the position at the boat when I first hit that new waypoint. So from there we can simply save it. We can go in and control our name, and then go in and control our icon or any color that we want, as well as any notes, whether we wanted to show it with depth or not. And then when you're done, you simply hit save, and now where that boat was is where we saved it. We can also do it from the screen. So say we want to mark our return home, we just go on our screen, and this time we can also push it, go to new waypoint. Now that position is where I put my finger on the screen, so that's the cursor position. And again, same thing with naming it or going in and changing the icon or the color. Simply hit save, and now I've got that. So if that's the point I want to return to, I can put that up on the screen and now navigate to it. So with the NSSevo3s, we also have the ability to save waypoints from our sounder page. We have the ability to grab the screen, scroll back in time, and if we find a spot, we simply press and hold, hit new waypoint, and now that is the position I put on my sounder screen. When I hit save, you can go back into your chart, and we can see that's where we just stored that waypoint. So we can also save a waypoint from our radar display. So we go onto our radar screen and we can simply go find a point. Again, menu, new waypoint, and again that's that cursor. Simply hit save, and we go back to our chart page. You can see that waypoint has now been saved right behind the boat. So just like when we're in our traditional sonar, we also have the ability to set waypoints from either side or downscan. So with Sidescan, again, we can grab that page, move it back, but we can also go left and right anywhere on the screen, and again, simply hit menu, new waypoint, and that's the position of where we had the cursor. Hit save, and again, when we go back to our chart page, we can now see that we've just dropped that waypoint right behind the boat. Again, going into Downscan, we run Downscan exactly like we do with our Sidescan, where we just scroll back then hit new waypoint and hit save. And always remember to clear cursor when you're done to get back to your live Sonar image. So now that we've created our waypoints, maybe we'll want to change some of the settings or the names that we've done to it. So what the Simrad NSSevo3s allows you to do is to manipulate that data on the fly. So I simply go, pick my waypoint, open it up, and you notice I'm already into my edit waypoint page. So now, if I wanted to change my name because this is my home port, I can just type in home port, enter. If I want to leave everything else the same, I simply hit save. And now that name is now changed to home port. Now you also have the ability to go in through your waypoints page, and we can go in and pick any waypoint that we want to change. And again, we can now go in and maybe change our icon, change our color, and simply save, and we can manipulate the data that way as well. Now that we've got all of our waypoints in the system and we've got them named the way we want them, to navigate to a waypoint, again, a couple ways to do it. So if we see our waypoint on the screen, we can simply hit it and hit go to, and now you notice our navigation highway gets put on the screen, and now we can follow that red line directly to our marker. To cancel navigation, we simply go in to the menu, navigation, and cancel. Another way to call up our waypoints is through our waypoint list. So you go home, we go back to our waypoints, and now we have our list, and we can simply scroll through it. Again, I had my dock marker, I simply hit that, and again hit go to again, and you notice that's a second way to do it.
And we are back on Simrad. We're live on Simrad Live. Welcome back. That was a great set of tips from Simrad training expert Sean Edmonds on how to create waypoints. And see, we're showing people, you think there's only one place you can create waypoints. There are lots of different places you can create waypoints, you know, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you can either do it directly from the screen. On the Evo3s, we actually have the built-in keypad on the side. If you're winning the radar screen, the sonar screen, any of those areas, it's very easy to create waypoints, either at the vessel or somewhere of interest.
And we did a lot of focus groups when we created the software for NSS products going years back. And, and we wanted to make sure no matter where you are on the display, you have the capability to perform functions that are very important to you. And clearly creating waypoints. When we're at boat shows, that's one of the top questions we get from people is, how do I create a waypoint?
And how can I do it quickly? And how do I edit it and change the icons and all that stuff, which I'm sure Sean just covered.
And right, and we're going to take that into the next progression here in a minute, and he's going to say, well, this is how you can create a route. And a route is basically a collection of waypoints, right?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
And you can actually build, I'm sure he'll show you how to build routes from the waypoints. And then you can automatically navigate to the routes and find your way.
Great. And we've been taking some questions that have been arriving in, and we're going to cover a couple of those questions now. But before we do, if you feel like this is going too fast for you, or you feel like you want to roll back and be able to view any of this, it's important to know that you can see this webinar, as well as any of the webinars we've done in the past, at simrad-yachting.com/live. You go to that page, they're all listed, all those webinars we've done in the past, or you can go to YouTube and type in for the Simrad channel and go there and see lots of how-to videos on how to create a lot of these same types of features that are available, not just on this product, but on a lot of our products for the Go and for the Cruise product, as well as for NSS and NSO Evo3 displays. So that's a great way to be able to do training. And if we don't get your questions answered there, you can always go to simradyachting.com, click on the help and support button, and contact our tech support team. And they'll be able to help you out throughout the week. So they're there to help you as well. But going to some questions, one of the questions we have was changing the data on the sidebars.
Okay.
Is that, I think we're covering data on sidebars, but someone's asked about changing the data on the sidebars. So first of all, when they say sidebars, what are we talking about?
So if I go into one of these here, over here on the side, we get all kinds of information, which can be customized, hence the question. And there's a number of sidebars actually there. So let me, so the first thing, when you're changing the data on the sidebar, you'll notice there's like an orange square around the screen. So you want to select the sidebar, make that. So now this is in focus.
So the orange around the screen means that that screen is activated to be changed,
Correct.
right? Okay. All right.
Correct. So now I've activated the sidebar information, and I can either tap and hold, or we can come here and we go into edit. And you'll notice that one of the boxes has a blue circle around it. I can touch the one down here. This is a time to destination. I can change, you notice that the data bar comes up. There's all kinds of information here. If it's like I'm not monitoring my battery at the moment, I can go into my battery section. I can look at my battery voltage, and you notice my battery voltage pops right up there.
Right.
So it's very easy. And then go back. I can finish editing, and I'm done. And that's as difficult as it is. It's very easy to go in and change your data.
And because I often get in and start to change things like this and feel, oh no, I'm messing stuff up, and I just want to stop right now and go back to the way it was. Is there a quick way to just exit out of it and come back and try it again?
You can go back in there. You can go to edit if you're editing.
And then I'm like, oh no, I want to just stop and get out of this.
Yeah.
You can just
when
press.
you go back and you can set reset cruise bar to default.
Oh,
And
okay.
it changes all the way back. And you'll notice that it's no longer battery voltage, it's back to time to destination.
Okay, that's great. Great to do. Okay, got one more. I'm going to try to stump you, Steve.
All right.
See if I can do that. Radar overlay. We get a question about how do I overlay my radar on top of my chart? But first, is that something that I can just do when I get my NSSevo3s display, or?
That's a good question. Obviously, you need a radar, which we have a whole range of both open array and dome radars available. So you need a radar, and the other critical piece of information is you need some sort of heading sensor. So it could be a GS25, which has a compass built in, or we also sell a Precision 9, which is a little bit more high precision compass, and you're going to need one of those, and you're going to need to calibrate it, and you're going to need to align it in order to get the radar overlay to match up.
Okay, so basically, with the NSSevo3s display, I have GPS built in.
Yep.
But that's not enough to be able to do radar overlay.
No.
I need to be able to know.
To do radar overlay properly, you're going to need an external heading sensor.
So I need to know which way's north, basically. Okay.
And that helps correlate everything inside the brains.
Because if I try to radar overlay without that, I'm going to get an error message that says you need a heading sensor.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Said radar overlay not available. So it's actually very easy to go in and to access it, to set the overlay. So again, let's change our focus back to our chart page. So it's back to our chart page, and then when we hit the menu here, you'll notice that there's a section down here that calls overlay. So there's a whole section of overlay here. So we have Sirius weather, Grib weather. We can overlay structure from a sonar if we have the proper sonar plugged in, radar, and heat map. So I think the question was around radar. So it's a little bit hard to show radar overlay in a simulated environment like we're showing today. So it's not actually going to look like it matches up to the land here, because the radar simulator was actually taken in a different place than this. But I notice if I hit overlay radar, now you're starting to see all these radar returns show up right around. And that's all you need to do to turn on radar overlay on top of your chart.
Great. Thank you. And if we want to turn it off, I don't want that anymore.
You can just go into here, hit your radar overlay, and go back to off.
Okay, great. I always want to know how to go backwards, because sometimes I don't like the way I set things up. So that's great. Now, as promised, we're going to cover a next set of tips from Simrad training expert Sean Edmonds. He's going to give us, let's see, it's a few tips, how to set up a route, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 quick tips on how to create routes. and that's how to help you with your navigation, and go with confidence with your Simrad NSSevo3s display. Don't forget, you can always watch these at simradyachting.com/live or on our YouTube channel by searching Simrad. And after this set of tips, we'll be right back and we'll get you ready for the final set of tips in tonight's webinar. And so take it away, Sean Edmonds.
Now let's talk about how to set up a route. Again, there's a couple ways to do this. If we hit Menu, New, and New Route, we can simply plot our route points along our map. You can zoom in and out to also get better precision. When we're done, we simply hit Save, we name our route, and hit Enter. And that's how you quickly create a quick route from the screen. So just like our waypoints, you can manipulate your routes and edit it on the fly from the chart page. Simply hit the route, menu, it's route 2, and we want to edit. So what do we want to do? Maybe we want to go in and rubber band that plot point, and you notice simply by hitting finish moving, it moves it, and now you can see, is that where you want it to go? You can also go in, and from there you can go in and remove points, change the name of the route, and then simply hit save, and you've now just changed your route on the fly. So another way to create a route is by using your waypoint list. So you simply hit Menu, Waypoints, go to Route, hit New Route, and then Insert. And now we can pick from our waypoint list each point we want to use to create that route. And again, hit Save or name it, whatever you want to do. Now that we've created our route, we're going to want to navigate to it. So again, there's a couple different ways we can do it. We can simply highlight, hit Route 2, and hit Start. And you notice it asks you, do you want to go forward or reverse? So that's depending on whether we're starting the route and going to our destination or coming back out of it. So it's asking you, do you want to start from the first point in that route or the last point? Again, whether you're going or coming home. So you simply hit forward, and you notice my navigation line goes to my first point in the line. Again, to turn off navigation, we simply hit cancel. Another way is if you just highlight the route, menu, navigate, you'll notice that Route 2 comes in on the menu because you've highlighted it and it's lit in green. So again, your forward and reverse comes up. So this time I'll go reverse, and you'll notice it's going to the last point in line. Now, when you hit navigation, maybe I've already passed that first point and I want to go to the second point. You notice if I hit skip, it goes to the second point in line. Skip, it goes to the third point in line. So if I'm already here, I don't want to start at that end and come all the way back around, I can simply hit skip. And then by backing out, your navigation is going to the third point in line, not the first. So we've talked about navigating to a waypoint, and we've talked about navigating to a route, but we also have the ability to navigate to a position. So say your buddy's out fishing offshore on a reef and he's got a great spot for you to come try. He can give you those coordinates, and we can use that to navigate. So we simply hit the menu button, we hit Go To, and Go To Coordinates. Now we can simply hit the coordinates and type it in. Depending on where you're located, you can set up north, south, east, and west. Simply hit OK, OK, and now you can see we've just created that spot and navigated to it without having to drop a waypoint and then navigate to a waypoint. This is just getting to a position without having to drop a waypoint. now that we're into navigation, you need to know how to turn it off. So to simply stop your navigation to any point or route, you hit Menu, Navigation. Now you also see this other button besides Cancel, you've got Restart. What Restart is I'm traveling to a waypoint and maybe I see a group of dolphin that I want to do some fishing and I move off my route line or my track line and I go catch some fish and now I want to get back to my waypoint. If I don't hit Restart, it's going to take you first back to the line and then to the waypoint. But if you've got free water, you simply hit Restart and it restarts tracking to that point from the boat's position. And when you're done, cancel and your navigation goes away.
And we are back on Simrad Live with our 20 how-to tips for the Simrad NSSevo3s display. And so we've covered everything about routes, everything from how to edit a route, how to create a route from your waypoint list, how to navigate coordinates, and how to stop and start navigation. So those are a lot of the key features, a lot of the features that we hear from our tech support team, as well as from consumers we speak to at boat shows and others. So we're hoping that really helps people and to be able to see it. And once again, if you missed it or you need to see something again, don't worry about it, because we have them available at simradyachting.com/live, or you can watch any of those tips at our YouTube channel, Simrad YouTube channel, and you can view all of those editorial or tutorial tips to be able to help you out. So that's what those are here for. But we have had some additional questions, and one of the questions goes back, Stephen, to what we were talking about on waypoints.
Oh, okay.
If someone, clearly you can name your waypoints,
yes,
but sometimes if you name your waypoints, you say, well, I want to go find a waypoint, and you want to search. If you have hundreds and hundreds of waypoints, you might want to search for it by the name of that waypoint.
Yep.
So there's a way to do that as well?
There is a way to do that.
Okay.
Absolutely there is. And again, to get to your waypoints, you can go to your home screen. And as you say, so then you can access your waypoints here. And as you said, sometimes people will have, you say hundreds. We've had people send in their waypoints to us because their machine's running slow or something like that. There are people out there with thousands and thousands of waypoints.
Wow.
So scrolling through a list, trying to find a waypoint name can be quite difficult. So in order to do that, you can go to the Find button over here. And let's say, I kind of remember one that we was in here we called Treasure. So we don't even have to enter the full part of the name. So it goes, oh, here's Treasure Island. So it's quite easy to go in there. So search the Find key, and you can search on the name of the unit and on the name of the waypoint, and it just automatically comes up.
That's great. That's a great way to be able to do that, and I'm sure that's a feature that people are going to, well, someone wanted to know how to do it, so clearly it's something that people will definitely be using out there with their NSSevo3s display. And as we said before at the beginning, a lot of these same features not only operate on the new NSSevo3s display, but they also operate on
the NSSevo3, the original NSSevo3, the NSSevo2 has very much the same functionality goes, and even the cruise units have some capabilities very similar to this. So if you get into one of those units, you're going to find they're remarkably similar, very easy to use from, if you get used to one, it's very easy to go to the Go units, to the cruise units, back and forth, very easy.
And if people go out on the market today, they go to a store that is selling Simrad electronics, and we have our dealer locator available on our website, so you can find the people who are selling that product. They're going to find that the NSSevo3 as well as the NSSevo3s are both available today.
That's correct.
But what are some of the key differences in the newer NSSevo3s display that's available?
So there are some major differences, and the primary difference has to do with the performance of the unit. So just as new phones come out every year, we get one of our suppliers, a new microprocessor came out, and so we tried out the new microprocessor. The overall performance of the unit increased dramatically.
It's faster.
It's faster.
Okay.
And in addition to that, we also embedded the charts.
Okay.
So you get your coastal Discover. You also get the Florida Reveal. So you have all that navigation data and all those charts already built into the unit. Okay. There's also a few other features as well. There's the ability to quickly change your chart orientation, where you go from from north up to heading up to course up. Very easy to change for that. A lot of people like to change those views depending on what they're doing, just to help orient themselves. A lot of times they're heading up when they're out, driving or cruising to a waypoint site. But once they're out there, they want to kind of figure out where they're at in the ocean. They go back to a north up view, and it's very easy to toggle back and forth. The other nice feature is you'll notice that there is the ability for the tides over here. So it actually chooses the closest tide station to you, and it displays what the current tide is right here in the bar without having to go out and look for the closest tide station.
That's great. That's great information to have.
It's a great safety feature.
Very
to
good.
Help you keep it front and center all the time.
Great fishing feature too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people want to know what the tide's doing, because that's what the fish might be doing or not doing, depending on what the tides are. So great information, and we've got another set of tips from our training expert, Sean Edmonds, who's based down in Florida, and he's put together another. This is kind of a collage of tips, and a lot of these, as we said before, are based on top questions we get in our tech support team. And so we went out and created these tips specifically to answer some of the most commonly asked questions on our displays. And so this includes how to edit and manipulate the data bar, and accessing information with icons on the chart page, and a couple of other important tips. So there's about 4 additional tips, and we're going to go to this. This will be our last section of tips in tonight's webinar, and then we'll come back and have some closing comments before we let you go. So we're going to take it away to Sean Edmonds on this last section of how-to tips on the NSSevo3s display.
Another thing that you can control and manipulate is your data bar. So you notice when I move my finger that the orange box moves with it. That tells me what the active pane is that I'm controlling. So now when I hit menu, you notice this is the menu on my data bar. So I have the ability to actually turn on one of 5 different data bars. Now when the unit comes in the machine, they are preset, but you do have the ability to change that data. So to change that data, we simply hit edit, we pick the box that we might want to change, and now anything else on the network, we can simply scroll down and grab that information and put it in that page. When we're done, we hit menu, finish editing, and we've now saved that data bar. So anytime I pull up the cruise data bar, it's going to have those tiles filled with the data that I chose. The other thing we can do is we can actually turn on a second data bar. So we can pull in a second data bar. Now what this does is this now gives us a second channel with multiple bits of information. So now we can have 2 data bars on the screen at the same time. Now sometimes, especially in the smaller screens, it takes up a lot of space. So losing an inch of real estate may be important. So what we allow you to do is animate. So what this means is I'm going to set this for 3 seconds. And now every 3 seconds, it's going to change between the 2 data bars that I selected. Then it just simply scrolls left or right and shows you all the additional data that you selected and set up. Another neat feature that when you're in your split screens, we have the ability to lock our cursors between our chart and any of our sounder technologies. So when I do scroll back and look for something that I may have passed, I can simply see where it is in reference to the vessel, or I have the ability to go in and drop a new waypoint, and you will see it pop up on the screen instantaneously. So on the chart page, whether you're using the internal CMAP reveal charts or you're using one of our chart partners, there are different icons that will be strewn across the screen. And by simply pressing an icon, pressing the words, you'll get a lot more information. So here's some information about the marina, telephone numbers and such. We can go into some services. So maybe we need to know what type of fuel it has. So this place does not have diesel, so if we're running anything with diesel, we cannot go in there and get that. And then you'll also notice at the bottom it has something called multimedia. What multimedia does is that will add in photos. So you'll see a photo of the marina, or when you go on to the actual chart page, you can actually see photos from around the intercoastal waterway, certain channels that might be unsafe at times. They'll give you these photos to help you recognize and be able to stay safe on the water. Tides are another important piece of information that you may need depending on the draft of your boat, or if you want to gauge what you're going to get in current or water movement. We have dynamic icons that do show up on the screen that can tell you which direction it's flowing, how fast. We also do have tide stations, so you simply hit the icon, pull it up. We have the ability to put tide stations in the sidebar now, and we can set this to where it will automatically stay on the closest tide station, or we can actually go in and manually search tide stations that are local to the boat. Third way is you can go into your menu and you do have tides. Now when you're on any of these tide stations, you have the ability to manipulate the data. So if I know I'm not going out till maybe the 20th, I can pull up the data for the 20th. If I want to change my tide station, I can go in, and I'm leaving out of Port Everglades and I can pick that up on the 20th. So you have the ability to manipulate the station and the time and day that you're going out.
And welcome back to Simrad Live Webinar. There you have it. You have 20 tips, 20 great tips on how to use your NSSevo3s display. I'm Gordon Sprouse, Marketing Director with Simrad, here with Stephen Thomas, Product Brand Director with Simrad. And Stephen's the one who's showing us how to do some additional features that we're being asked about, because he's a lot better at it than I am. And so it's great to have him here with us so we can go over some of these features. And before we let you go, just a couple of reminders. If you would like to see any of this again, go to simradyachting.com, this website, go to the live section, and you would be able to see not only this webinar, but any of the webinars we've had in the past. And in addition, if you go to the YouTube channel, you can search Simrad and see all of our features, our how-to features on how to use not only the NSSevo3s display, but also any of our other displays as well. And if you still have questions and you need some help, click the help and support button and talk to any of our tech support team, and they'll be able to help you out with your questions. So, but we did get another question, Stephen, and it's talking about the program wheel. Now, the program wheel is, that's this right here, the program wheel, the toggle wheel that allows us.
I think what they're referring to is this little button right here.
Okay.
We call it the wheel key.
The wheel key.
And the original intent for this was to be able to engage and disengage your autopilot, which it can still do. But a lot of people don't have autopilots, or they want to use that button for something else. So we have actually made that particular key programmable.
Okay.
And I can show you how to do that. There's a whole range. So again, go back to your home screen there. And if you hit the settings again, it brings up another menu here. Whole different configuration menu, and as you go down about halfway, there's one called Configure the Wheel Key. So if you hit Configure the Wheel Key, you'll see that currently if I do a short press on this button, I'll toggle the split screen window, and that's what we were doing earlier when we were changing the focus so we could get over to that instrument bar on the side. So it puts that little orange bar and moves it around the screen so we know which one. So you don't actually have to touch the screen. You can use this as a toggle to do that. And if as I do that, I can also do a long press on here, and I can maximize that split screen window. But
maximize means?
Meaning I can make it a full screen. So I can
across the whole display.
Across the whole display. So if I got my screen split and I've got chart on one side and Sonar on the other, I can split the screen, or I can highlight it with the toggle split screen window. And then if I hold it longer, it makes the Sonar go full screen.
Okay.
But I can also, there's a whole range of different
Oh, wow.
options that you can actually go in to do that. You can do that to set it as a trigger a man overboard button, so you don't actually have to hit 2 buttons. You can brings up your menu that says go to options, so you can go to cursor or go to coordinates. It can bring up the find, so you can look for different places of points of interest. Or if you want to start a new waypoint or capture screenshots. Some of our customers actually like to go out and take screenshots of what they see on the screen and send them in to us. So we love to do that. You can do a touch screen lock and unlock. Here's the autopilot control, is what it was originally designed for. All kinds of things in here, and you can also use it as a quick access to get to any of the functions that display has. So we can do chart, sonar, downscan, sidescan, one button push to get there.
That's great. I think the more and more you see tips like this, the more you realize is that displays like the NSSevo3s display can be as simple or as customized as you want them to be.
Absolutely.
If you wanted to, you could just take it out of the box and turn it on and take off and go after you get it all connected. Or by using tips like this, you can customize your display to make it exactly what you want it to be.
Absolutely. We'd love to, we put a lot of auto functionality built in there, so if you don't want to spend your time learning about the electronics, it is more plug and play to go. So the Sonar has a lot of auto features. The chart will come right up. Again, it's very easy to find radar overlays and some things like that, but absolutely, you can customize it to your heart's content.
That's great. Well, I think that's it. That's what we have, 20 great tips, plus you got some extra great tips from Steve and Thomas. Thanks, Steve, for being here
Thanks for having me.
giving these tips to us. And thank you, Sean Edmonds, for your great support out there with those 20 tips for NSSevo3s display. I'm Gordon Sprouse, Marketing Director for Simrad. Don't forget, we've got great new charts from CMAP, the new CMAP Discover and Reveal charts. You can learn more about those at c-map.com. And you can see the shaded relief on our Chart Explorer as well. So you can be able to see that the chart viewer, you can see that information. And you can also get more great information on Simrad at simrad-yachting.com. Thank you.